That's easy. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, brothers and sisters, there comes a time in life when you must pause, look in the mirror and ask yourself a question. Who am I when no one is watching? Because until you can answer that question, you will forever live for the opinions of others. We live in a world intoxicated by validation. We count likes instead of lessons. We chase approval instead of authenticity. We've mistaken applause for purpose. But hear me today. The loudest approval you will ever need is not from people around you, but from the God who created you. That's easy. You were enough before anyone clapped for you. You were valuable before anyone noticed you. You were chosen before you performed a single act. The problem with seeking validation is that it makes people your mirror. And when they change, your reflection disappears. That's easy. That's why so many are lost. Because their identity depends on someone else's opinion. Listen carefully. If you don't know who you are, others will name you, define you, and confine you. But when you discover your true identity, you walk with quiet confidence. You stop begging to be seen. That's easy, because you already know you were sent. Let me tell you something. Validation is temporary, but value is eternal. A diamond doesn't need to shout to prove it's a diamond. Its worth doesn't decrease because someone fails to recognize it. And your worth doesn't decrease if someone overlooks you. Some of you are exhausting yourselves trying to please people who are not even paying attention. You are performing for crowds who are too distracted to care. And while you are waiting for their applause, you are missing your assignment. Stop performing. Stop becoming. Start becoming. Stop chasing affirmation. Start embracing purpose. When you understand your purpose, you no longer complete. You complete. You no longer imitate. You initiate. You no longer need validation because purpose itself becomes your proof. You are not a mistake. You are not accident. You are not here by coincidence. That easy. Every detail of your life, your pain, your story, your scars is part of a divine design. And the creator of the universe never produces something without value. So stop waiting for someone to tell you that you are enough. You already are. The seed does not ask the soil for permission to grow. It simply grows because it was designed to. In the same way, you do not need permission to shine, to lead, to become. You were born to do it. Stop seeking validation. You already carry it within you. Stand tall. Walk boldly. Speak purposefully. That's easy because the world doesn't need another copy. It needs the original version of you. The trap of external approval is one of the most subtle prisons in life. It doesn't come with bars or chains. It comes with smiles, compliments, and applause. It feels good at first, being noticed, being praised, being celebrated. But slowly, it conditions your soul to depend on it. You begin to live for the next compliment, the next affirmation. And before long, you start adjusting who you are to fit what others expect you to be. You start performing instead of living. That's easy. You measure your worth by the reactions of people who don't even know your purpose. You allow their opinions to define your confidence and their silence to destroy your peace. This, the tragedy of external validation, it looks like affirmation, but it's really addiction. The moment you begin to crave the approval of people, you give them power over your joy. When you live for approval, you lose authenticity. You stop asking, is this right for me? And start asking, will they like me? You begin to compromise conviction for acceptance. But listen, the crowd is never consistent. The same voices that praise you today can criticize you tomorrow. If your self-worth is rooted in their applause, your identity will rise and fall with their moods. True freedom begins when you no longer need people to agree with your value. Approval is a shadow. It follows you only when you stand in the light of your own purpose. The moment you turn around to chase it, it disappears. So instead of seeking to be approved, seek to be aligned with who you were designed to be. That's easy. The trap of external approval will keep you busy trying to please everyone while disappointing yourself. But when you discover free from it, you discover something powerful, that your peace is not up for public opinion and your worth is not subject to a vote. You were enough before anyone noticed. That's easy. And you will remain enough even if no one applauds. Before you achieve anything in life, you must know who you are. Too many people spend their lives trying to prove their worth through titles, possessions, or performance. They believe that success will define them, that the right achievement will finally make them valuable. But identity must come before accomplishment, because what you do is an expression of who you are, not a replacement for it. When you don't know your identity, you will attach it to your activity. The moment your performance changes, your confidence collapses. That's why some people feel lost when they lose a job, a relationship, or a title, because their sense of self was built on what they did, not on who they were. The tragedy is that when you confuse identity with accomplishment, failure feels like death. But when you are rooted in who you are, failure becomes feedback, not finality. Identity gives direction to achievement. It tells you what to pursue and what to ignore. Without it, you chase everything that glitters, hoping something will validate your existence. Yet true accomplishment flows naturally from identity. It's the fruit of knowing your purpose, not the substitute for it. When you know who you are, you don't compete for success. You complete your assignment. Your worth existed before your work began. Before you ever created, performed, or produced anything. That's easy. You were already valuable. The Creator did not design you to earn significance. He designed you to express it. Accomplishment is meant to reveal your identity, not replace it. So build your life on the foundation of who you are, not the decoration of what you achieve. Because the world may celebrate what you do, but heaven recognizes who you are. One of the greatest thieves of peace and purpose is comparison. It creeps in quietly through observation and admiration until admiration turns into security. You look at someone else's success and begin to question your own. You start measuring your value by their visibility, your progress by their pace, your significance by their spotlight. What you don't realize is that comparison is an illusion. It paints half-truths as whole realities. Social comparison is dangerous because it hides behind the mask of inspiration. You tell yourself you're just looking for motivation, but deep inside, you're secretly keeping score. And in the hidden competition, joy begins to leak out of your soul. You stop being grateful for what you have because you're too busy counting what someone else possesses. But no one posts their failures. No one highlights their private struggles. You're comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel, and it's robbing you of contentment. When you compare yourself to others, you lose sight of your own assignment. You start running someone else's race and forget the unique lane you were called to. The truth is, purpose is not a competition, it's a calling. What's meant for you will never fit anyone else, and what's meant for them will never fulfill you. The moment you try to imitate someone's journey, you blight your own potential, compares you to your own progress. It whispers that you're behind, even when you're growing. It tells you that you're not enough, even when you're becoming everything you were designed to be. But understand this. Destiny has its own timing. Flowers don't bloom all at once, yet each one blossoms in its season. You are not late, you're in process. Freedom begins when you stop measuring your worth by someone else's moment. The only person you need to compare yourself to is the version of you from yesterday. The goal is not to be better than others, but to be better aligned with who you are. When you release comparison, gratitude returns. And when gratitude returns, peace follows. So celebrate others without diminishing yourself, because their light does not dim yours. It simply reminds you that yours can shine too. Confidence is not born from compliments, charisma, or charm. It is born from clarity. When you know why you exist, you stop questioning whether you belong. Purpose anchors your identity. It gives meaning to your motion and direction to your desire. Without it, confidence becomes fragile, easily broken by criticism or rejection. But when your confidence is rooted in purpose, it cannot be shaken. That's easy because it is not built on public opinion. It's built on divine intention. Many people try to build confidence by collecting achievements, but achievements without purpose are like medals on an empty chest. Shiny, but hollow. They look impressive from the outside, yet they fail to sustain the soul. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself because it knows its assignment. Purpose gives you that kind of confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. Assurance that you were sent here for something only you can do. When you understand your purpose, failure no longer frightens you because you see it as refinement, not rejection. You stop competing with others because your purpose has no duplicate. You stop chasing approval because your validation comes from within. You begin to move with calm strength, even in uncertainty, because purpose whispers, you were made for this. A confidence rooted in purpose also brings humility. You no longer have to prove yourself because you're too focused on expressing yourself, the self that was self-designed with intention. You become bold, not you are flawless, but because you are focused. You stand tall, not because life is easy, but because your why is clear. Purpose turns fear into fuel. It transforms obstacles into opportunities to grow stronger. It makes rejection bearable and delays meaningful. When you know what you are called to do, you stop needing permission to do it. That's real confidence, walking in the certainty that even when the path is unclear, the calling is sure. So never look for confidence in titles, positions, or applause. Look for it in purpose. Because when you find your why, you also find your wings. Validation is like a breeze. It feels refreshing when it comes, but it never stays. It moves with the moods of people, the trends of culture, and the tides of opinion. One day they celebrate you, the next they knew. The next they question you. One moment you, the center of attention, the next you are forgotten. If your worth depends on that cycle, you will live in emotional instability. High when praised, broken when ignored. But value is different. Value is steady. Value does not fluctuate with applause or fade with silence. It is eternal because it is woven into your design. Validation is what people give. Value is what God placed within. Validation can be withdrawn. Value cannot be removed. The problem is that too many people are trying to preserve their image rather than protect the essence. They chase validation because it feels like affirmation, but it only masks insecurity. When you live for validation, you trade authenticity for attention. You begin to alter yourself to fit expectations instead of fulfilling purpose. The danger of temporary validation is that it blinds you to permanent worth. It teaches you to perform for love instead of live from love. It convinces you that approval equals importance. But true importance is not given by people. It is discovered through purpose. You were valuable before anyone noticed you. And you will remain valuable even if no one ever applauds you again. Think about it. A diamond does not lose its worth when it's buried in the ground. Its brilliance doesn't depend on being seen. It simply is what it was created to be. In the same way, your value is intrinsic. It is not the result of recognition. It is the reflection of creation. Validation only reveals what is already there. It does not create it. When you understand that value is eternal, that's easy. You stop chasing moments and start cultivating meaning. You become grounded content and unshaken by opinions. The applause may fade, the crowd may leave, but your worth remains untouched. Because validation is a moment, value is forever. Self is one of the most powerful forms of wisdom you can possess. It is the quiet understanding of who you are, what drives you, and why you respond the way you do. Without it, you move through life reacting instead of living intentionally. You become shaped by circumstances rather than guided by conviction. Self-awareness allows you to see yourself clearly. Your strengths, that's easy. Your struggles, your patterns, and your potential. It's not about self-criticism. It's about self-discovery. When you know yourself, you stop settling for what doesn't fit your purpose. You stop forcing yourself into places you were never designed to be. You begin to discern what aligns with your values and what distracts from your growth. Too many people chase success without self-awareness, and they end up achieving things that don't satisfy them. They climb ladders leaning against the wrong walls. But when you're self-aware, you choose direction before motion. That's easy. You move with clarity instead of confusion. Self-awareness protects you from manipulation. When you know who you are not easily swayed by opinions or pressured by expectations. You can appreciate advice without losing your voice. You can listen to feedback without questioning your identity. It helps you navigate relationships with wisdom because you understand what you need, what you give, and what boundaries keep you healthy. It also creates humility. The more you understand yourself, the less you judge others. You realize everyone is fighting battles you cannot see. You become more patient, more compassionate, more grounded. Self-awareness teaches you to manage your emotions rather than be mastered by them. You can pause before reacting, reflect before responding, and choose peace over pride. To know yourself deeply is to honor your design. That's easy. It's to live in agreement with your true nature instead of constantly apologizing for it. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully you. Because when you are self-aware, you no longer seek to be perfect. You seek to be purposeful. You move through life not trying to impress, but to express the authenticity of who you are. That kind of clarity brings freedom. And with it, an unshackable peace that no external validation can give. You are not a mistake. You are not born by accident, and your existence is not a coincidence. Even if your arrival on this earth was unexpected by people, it was not unexpected by purpose. Every life carries intention. You were crafted with design, infused with potential, and placed in time for a reason. The world may question your worth, but your creator never has. Nothing about you is random. Not your personality, not your background, not even your pain. Sometimes life makes you doubt that truth. You go through rejection, disappointment, and loss, and you begin to wonder if your presence really matters. But pain does not erase purpose. It often reveals it. The very things that wounded you can become the tools that shape you. Every scar is a story. A tear is a teacher. And every setback can be a setup for something greater. You may not understand why certain things happen, but that doesn't mean they were meaningless. Purpose has a way of turning even the hardest seasons into preparation. You are not defined by the circumstances of your birth or the opinions of others. You are defined by the intention behind your creation. The world may label you by what you've done, but heaven knows you by who you are. And who you are is not a mistake. You are a masterpiece in progress. There is something inside you that the world needs, something only you can contribute. That is why you are here in this generation, this time. Never let the voices of doubt convince you that you don't belong. You were born with divine timing and divine purpose. Your existence carries weight, and your story carries meaning. Even the parts of your life that feel broken are being woven into something beautiful. You don't have to fix yourself to be worthy. You are already worthy because you exist. You are not an instance of intention. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. And as long as there is breath in your body, there is purpose for your life. So many people spend their lives performing, trying to be what others expect, saying what others wanted to hear, living according to standards that were never meant for them. They wear masks to gain approval and play roles to feel accepted. But deep down they are exhausted because performance can never replace authenticity. Performance may win applause, but it cannot give peace. You can only pretend for so long before your soul begins to crave truth. Becoming, on the other hand, is not about impressing. It's about transforming. It's about growth from the inside out, not presentation from the outside in. When you shift from performing to becoming, you stop asking, how do I look? And start asking, who am I becoming? You stop living to be seen and stop living to be real. Becoming allows you to evolve without pressure, to fail, to learn, to rise again, and to keep walking toward the version of yourself that was meant to exist all along. Performance keeps you trapped in comparison, but becoming frees you to progress. Performance is loud and temporary. Becoming is quiet and lasting. Performance seeks validation. Becoming seeks alignment. When you live for performance, you depend on applause to feel significant. But when you live for becoming, you draw strength from purpose. One is rooted in insecurity, the other in identity. You were not created to be an actor on the stage of other people's expectations. You were created to be an expression of divine design. That means you don't have to prove your worth to express it. You only need to exhibit. Every day is an opportunity to become a little more honest, a little more whole, a little more you. Stop performing for love and start becoming through love. Stop pretending to have it all together and start embracing the beauty of growth. You don't need to wear perfection as a costume. You need to walk in authenticity as your truth. When you stop performing, you begin to experience peace. And when you start becoming, you begin to experience purpose. That's easy because life's goal is not to be admired. It is to be fulfilled, transformed, and aligned with the person you were always meant to be. Inside every person lives a voice. The quiet, relentless whisper that questions your worth, doubts your ability, and reminds you of every failure you've ever made. That voice, The inner critic is subtle but powerful. It can turn opportunities into fears, dreams into doubts, and potential into paralysis. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it speaks softly, planting small seeds of insecurity until you begin to believe them. It tells you that you're not enough, that you don't measure up. That's easy. That you'll never get it right. And if you don't confront it, that voice can become the loudest sound in your soul. Silencing the inner critic doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing truth over distortion. It means recognizing that not every thought that enters your mind deserves your agreement. That's easy. You can't stop negative thoughts from coming, but you can stop giving them authority. You can acknowledge your flaws without condemning your identity. You can face your mistakes with your confidence. Growth or fading requires honesty. But it also requires grace. The inner critic often speaks from old wounds, voices from your past, experiences of rejection, moments when you felt unseen or unworthy. Over time, those echoes become your own thoughts. But you are not the sum of your failures, and you are not defined by your weakest moments. You are still growing, still learning, still becoming. Instead of letting the inner critic remind you of who you were, let purpose remind you of who you are. You silence that voice by speaking life to yourself. Affirmation is not arrogance, it's alignment. When you say, I am capable, I am worthy, I am enough, you are not denying your struggles. You clearing your identity. You are true identity. You're training your mind to agree with your design. The more you replace self-criticism with self-compassion, the more peace you create within. Every time you choose courage over condemnation, you take power back from the inner critic. Every time you speak truth instead of fear, that voice loses its grip. Eventually you realize that the critic inside you was never telling the truth. It was only reflecting your doubt. And when doubt is silenced, destiny begins to speak. That's easy. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to believe that your imperfection doesn't cancel your purpose. Silence the critic, and you'll finally hear the sound of your potential. Most people spend their lives chasing wholeness, believing that one more achievement, one more relationship, or one more opportunity will finally make them complete. They run from moment to moment, hoping that fulfillment waits at the next milestone. But true peace is not found by striving for wholeness. It comes from living from it. You were never meant to live as someone trying to become enough. You were designed to live as someone who already is. Wholeness is not something you earn. It's something you awaken to. When you live for wholeness, you approach life from a place of lack. You constantly feel the pressure to prove, to perfect, to perform. You look to people and possessions to fill the spaces you haven't accepted within yourself. But when you live from wholeness, you operate from abundance. You no longer chase what you already carry. You stop looking outward for what was planted inward. You realize that everything you need to walk in purpose is already inside you, waiting for your agreement. Living from wholeness changes how you respond to life. You stop seeing challenges as threats to your identity and start seeing them as opportunities for expression. You no longer need validation to feel secure because your sense of worth is rooted, not rented. You can give love freely without fear of losing yourself because love becomes an overflow, not a transaction. Wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you never hurt, never doubt, or never struggle. That's easy. It means you understand that even in your broken places, you are still complete in essence. You can acknowledge pain without losing peace. You can admit weakness without surrendering worth. You become anchored in a deeper truth that nothing missing externally can change what's whole internally. When you live from wholeness, you no longer chase life. You attract alignment. You make decisions from clarity instead of desperation. You create from joy instead of fear. You serve from love instead of need. That's easy. That is what true freedom looks like. Moving through life knowing that you are not searching for something to complete you, but allowing who you already are to unfold fully. You stop living to become whole and start living because you already are. Life is not a race to prove your worth. It is a journey to remember it. You were never meant to live in the shadows of approval, fear, or comparison. You were born to walk in the light of identity, purpose, and truth. The moment you stop chasing validation and start embracing your value, everything changes. You stop asking for permission to exist and start standing in the authority of who you already are. You are not what people say about you. You are not the mistakes you made or the seasons you've survived. You are a masterpiece in motion, created with intention, designed with purpose. That's easy, and equipped with everything needed to impact your world. The applause will fade, the opinions will shift, but your worth will remain, because your value is eternal and it was never meant to be negotiated. So walk boldly into your future knowing this. You have nothing to prove and everything to express. You are not waiting to become enough. You are enough right now. Stop shrinking to fit expectations that were never yours. Lift your head, find your voice, and step into the fullness of your design. The world doesn't need another version of someone else. It needs the original version of you. Confident, complete, and unapologetically authentic. Live from that truth, and your very existence will become a message of freedom to others still searching for themselves. You are already enough. Now it's time to live like it.